What's going on, everybody? This is Frank Chen with REIClub.com, your link to creative real estate, and I want to welcome you to our podcast where we get face-to-face with real estate experts and investors all around the nation and ask the questions that you want to know. Now, if you're new today and you haven't had a chance to visit REIClub.com, I encourage you to do so. We have thousands of free articles, hundreds of videos, cool tools you can check out. And so also, if you want some really cool bonuses, all you got to do is sign up for our free monthly update. We'll keep you informed anytime new videos are posted, anytime these interviews are posted. And of course, you get some pretty cool bonuses just for signing up, and it's free to do so. Now, that's all the announcements I have. And again, you can do that, at www.reiclub.com/update. And of course, finally, if you're listening on you have either YouTube or iTunes, please remember to leave us a favorable rating because it really does help us out. So again, that's all the announcements I have today. I know you guys are here to listen from the experts. I am too. So without further ado, it's my great pleasure to bring on our special guests today, Jake and Gino, who are actually based out of New York. Is that right, guys?
New York and Tennessee. That's correct.
New York and Tennessee. Very cool. For guys, I'm out of Texas, so we're all over. The power of Skype. And what we're going to be talking to you guys today, and what I'm going to be asking the questions on, is building wealth through multifamily investing. These guys have started back in 2011. Their beautiful partnership. We're going to get into that kind of how they got into the business, where they originally started, and actually, after 4 or 5 years, kind of what they've created and what they've built, and it's going to be pretty impressive. So how you guys been? I know we talked last week. You guys approached us. We're excited to hear your story. So let's start with you, Jake. And Jake is go ahead and wave, Jake, if that's
right here.
And then Gino, go ahead and wave. We can go ahead and get that. And then of course, this is Frank right here. Just curious, what did you guys do for a living before you got into real estate? And if you guys just take turns, we'll let Jake go first. Gino, let us know, get a little better feeling for who you guys are.
Yeah, so you're right on. It goes back to 2011. I was in New York. I was living in a one-bedroom apartment. I was a drug rep for a pretty, top 3 pharmaceutical manufacturer. And it just seemed that I was spinning my wheels. We had, in New York, really high taxes. Cost of living is through the roof. And I wanted to reduce that cost of living. So I kind of started looking throughout the nation. I was actually looking at Texas, looking at Florida, looking at places with no state income tax, right?
Right.
Well, my wife and I visited Knoxville, Tennessee, and it basically low property taxes, no state income tax. It was close. We could drive back to New York. So I was able to find a lateral transfer within the pharmaceutical company. And in 2011, I was able to take that, move down here. But before I left, I was doing all of my catering through the pharmaceutical company with Gino's restaurant. So we had a relationship. And before I left, I said, Gino, I'm really looking at getting into some real estate when I get down there because it's very affordable compared to New York, right? And yeah, it's awesome. So one of my mentors was a gentleman by the name of Dr. Neshawat. And he was one of the doctors I was calling on when I was in New York. And, he was coaching me along because he saw that I was, very passionate. I wanted to build wealth. And he said the key for him was through real estate. He owns properties from Florida all the way up to northern New York, throughout the country. And so that was kind of my inspiration right there. And at this time, my manager at the pharmaceutical company was also investing in real estate. So I was getting some little nods, little pushes from the people that I was working with saying, this is probably where you want to be, right?
Right.
And I knew Gino from the restaurant, and he was investing in some commercial stuff, had some duplexes or whatnot. So we were talking before I went down. He said, when you get down there, let's talk more about it and whatnot. So I went down there, had about 2 years. Gino and I have constant rejection. People basically telling us we're nuts, you guys, because we're trying to get things that are making money, right? We're not trying to break even, trying creative financing, seller financing offers. And these people are basically looking at us like we're crazy. So eventually, my wife wanted to buy a house and all that. So I took my seed money for the real estate, and we bought a house. So basically quit, gave up. It's not, done. Gino's shooting the gun over here, you dummy, right? So fast forward to February 2013. Start getting the itch again, move into the house, and I'm like, man, I still want to get into real estate. Called this broker up, had this, I call it the crack den. Okay. It was this 25 unit mom and pop apartment complex, and it was a mess, but the numbers worked. It was the first deal we actually looked at where the numbers worked. So we go, we look at the place, and we say to the broker, would they be willing to hold 10% of the down payment as owner financing? He said, yeah, I think you can do that. And we asked for a pretty steep price discount as well because it was on the market for almost 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, he said, I think I can get that done. So from all this rejection from 2 years, we finally get a guy that says, no, I think that's reasonable. And so I'm thinking, I'm like, am I crazy right now? What's going on? So we got the deal done, got into it, got our feet wet, and then from 2013 till today, we were able to grow that portfolio from the little crack den to just kidding aside, but we're closing on a deal that's going to put us up to about $32 million in values and annual rents of about $5 million a year.
Oh,
So
wow.
from that
That's
little crack den, we've kind of ballooned and we have a pretty thriving business on our hands now. So
really cool.
Let's fast forward, rewind this a little bit. When I met Jake, I was in a different spot than Jake is in my life. I had a successful business. So for all you guys out there that have a successful business but are really stuck in life, just want to get somewhere else in life, I've got 6 kids. I've got a big family. I've got to feed a big family. I love where I was, but I said to myself, there's got to be something else out there. And I always had real estate. I always had little holdings. I had a 3-family. I bought a couple duplexes up in Rochester. But I'm sure, that, as a lot of listeners know, I didn't have a niche. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have any kind of direction. I know but then I figured I knew what I wanted. I wanted to create wealth and then generate that passive income. That's the 2 things that I wanted to do. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners out there want to do that. So I said, what's the best way to do it? I said, okay, let's do multis. But I said, New York is not the place to do it. Fortunately, as I say, God put Jake into my path. We got together. Jake went down south, and I took a chance. I mean, I didn't know Jake. We just fit that partnership. We had that synergy working. He's a terrific partner. He says what he does, and he does what he says. It's a good lead for me. I do the same thing. So we work well together. We have sort of different skill sets, but at the same time, we have some of the similar skill sets. And we, look back at it now, and it was a chance, I think, in the very beginning. But you know what? We started small. We liked the property. I had a lot of knowledge. I mean, I did a lot of coaching with different, mentors and stuff. So I really knew what I was looking for, and I knew what I wanted. And that's how we got that first 25-unit property. I wouldn't let go. I had the gun before. I said, Jake, kill him. And, we'd started and then we stopped. But you know what? I just knew if I kept a hold of it and I kept pushing, and we get where we have to be.
Absolutely. I think that's a really great story. How you guys, obviously didn't fall into real estate initially, right? You guys had your own occupations, full time,
Yes.
working, a day job. And let me ask you this, Gino, were you? Jake mentioned something about a restaurant. Was that the core business, or would you?
That is still actually, yeah, it is the core business. I've been doing it for 20 years, and actually, as we speak, April or May of this year, I'm going to be retiring from the business. I'm going to give it to my brother. I'm going to be moving down to Florida, believe it or not, Jacksonville, Florida. I'm going to be expanding the portfolio. So, I mean, I think it's all about taking massive action in life. I mean, it's going to be hard moving a whole big family like that, but I can't make that as an excuse. I still want to continue the business. The business down there, the numbers down there economically makes much more sense in Florida than they do in New York. So that's where my next step is.
So let's segue this into a next question I have for you guys. When you're doing real estate, you have a full-time job, with what you guys have gone through the past 4 or 5 years, would you recommend this is something, commercial is something you can do, part-time with a few hours a week, or is it something that you need to dedicate a lot more time and really plan out maybe a 6-month, 12-month plan to go full-time? What would you guys say?
I would say that it's a complicated question because you can do both.
Okay.
And I'm going to address it from 2 perspectives. It's if you're going to syndicate deals, right? If you're going to use property management companies and you're going to go after 150 unit complexes, right? Then that's something you could do while working at another job as an asset manager, because you're basically going out, finding those deals, putting the deals together, but then putting it under a property management where we self-manage. We have our own management company that ties into our business, okay? So if you're going to go the route where you want to sort of do what we did, where we started in a 25-unit complex, it's in the beginning, I had this I'm a mentality. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do everything. And that burns you out real quick. So you need to scale up, put systems in place, and build a team, right? So in the beginning, the biggest challenge is you don't have that team in place. So you're going to take your lumps and you're going to get beat up a little bit. But once you have that solid team in place, you start putting systems in place, you can scale your business, it gets a lot better. So it's sort of what your goals are. If you maybe have limited access to partners and capital, maybe starting in at 20, 25 unit complex, 15 units, you can do that and then grow your business that way. But I think it's easier the bigger complexes you get into because you're going to have that team in place. They're going to help you manage it, and your life's actually going to get easier having that team in place than doing the smaller complexes.
But Frank, I always tell people, my bit of advice is if you're going to start in real estate, start small. Because if you make a big mistake, it's going to be a small mistake because the property is smaller. You can readjust. And if you don't like it, heaven's sake, you can always sell a property and get out of it. But if you start with this big property, we started with 25 units. It was very manageable for us. We were both working at the same time. Jake was, his job was flexible. It was still full time. So, he still could go collect the rents. And when he started out, he learned the business firsthand. So like he said, he took his lumps. He went and did his own evictions. He went and did his own turns. It's hard in the very beginning, but that's the best way to learn. You have to get your hands dirty. And then you know what? Once you learn the business, you'll have the ability to hire a management company or to hire resident managers, and then you can train them to do it the way you want it done. So I think if you start small and start manageable, you can still work full time and have that as a part-time gig. But then what happens is everyone has their own answer. As any coach will tell you, we all have our own answers. Do you want to do it full time? Then once you start doing it, if you want to do it full time, you're gonna have to change your mind shift. You're gonna have to change your goals and maybe let go of that full-time job and transition into real estate. And that's when I think everyone has to make their own decision on that one.
Absolutely. It's interesting, like a lot of these commercial experts out there, they're always talking about 25, 50 units. Oh, my 75 units. Obviously, for a first-time investor, a newer investor, you're thinking that's pretty overwhelming. What would you like? Could you kind of dive into what exactly multifamily is? Commercial? Is it as small as like a 4-plex, or is it something as small as like a 10 unit? Do those apply?
I classify commercial multifamilies. Anything that's 5 or more units is considered commercial. It's considered commercial multis. 4 or less is residential. Different kind of lending. We like to do larger deals. Even the 25 unit, they're pretty much easier to get financing for because the bank is going to be looking at the actual numbers. Is really, they're going to go against the cost approach. They're not going to go out and do comps as much, although they do comps per unit. But I think it's easier to start with a larger unit. I can give you an example. I'll make you guys laugh. Everyone has children. You have your first child, right? It's really overwhelming to have your first kid. You have your second kid. Oh my gosh, what's going on? By the time you have your third, fourth, and fifth, I had my 6th child. It was like it's like a walk in the park. So
throw in the towel.
Easier as you have stuff. And you know what? If you like it, like I love having kids, you keep having kids. Let's say, or you keep buying properties. It's just it's your passion. It gets you through, and that's what happens with these properties. You start small, and then you start building. Our progression was 25 units. Then we went from 25 to 36. We brought on another partner with 36 units. Then from 36, we made a big jump to 136 units. You're going to say, how the heck did you do that? I had the confidence. The deal was fantastic. The stars aligned, and we just hit a home run with that one. Then from 136, we went down and we bought a smaller property, 20 what, how many units?
24 units.
Yeah, 24. Then from 24 units, we got a big property. We got a 281 units. Really big property. So from 281, we found a 16-unit deal that my partners didn't want to do. But I'm like, guys, we have to do this deal. It's too small for these guys. I'll buy anything that can make you money. It's not what you buy, it's what you pay, right? So we paid a fantastic price for this. So from 16, now we're back up to 156. So that's the progression that we took. That's the progression that a lot of investors are going to take. If they like it, they'll start at a certain number, then they'll just start scaling up.
And I think one thing I found out, the universal theme here is like in the beginning, even now, you guys talk about commercial deals, just like residential, the numbers matter. But I feel like commercial, there are more nuances to the calculations. You got your NOI, your cap rates, buying right. I don't care what it is, as long as the numbers look good. I remember you guys said, I think Jake said that one too. So we're gonna actually go into that a little bit more detail later in this video. I have some questions on that that are gonna touch up on that. But I really want to cover one thing that we get asked from investors all the time, which is, should I start in residential first, kind of get my feet wet before I take on this big commercial project, or could I just go ahead and jump right into commercial?
Yeah, and this actually goes back to what I was just saying. I wanted to really hammer this point. It truly is easier the bigger these things get to run them because you have that team in place. You're able to hire people. It's economies of scale. So the smaller it is, you end up doing more of that work yourself, right? And it actually can become more challenging. When you're managing a team and you have folks in place, to me, that's easier, right? So it also depends on how much, capital you're able to raise, how much money you're able to get. I would say, I felt pretty comfortable starting at 25 units. It was very manageable. I was working another job. I didn't have a problem with it. It's somewhat of a personal question, but I think it's very doable to start. Even if you wanted to, looking back, maybe the 136 units in the beginning would have been a little overwhelming, just starting a management company and all that. But I think 25 units, very doable for a first timer, no doubt.
Frank,
because we've done it.
You know where I think people could start? If they're first starting out, I was talking to some college kids this morning. When you first start out, I think the best place to do is if you're going to buy a property, buy a duplex. Live on one side, rent out the other side. That's the best way because you're going to pay yourself. Your mortgage is going to be paid by the tenant. You're going to be dealing directly with the tenant. You're going to be already in the business, let's say. Go out, get your real estate license. See how it is to work in the business. Put an ad on Craigslist. Hey, listen, I'm a 20-something-year-old person. I want to manage your property. I'm a property manager. Start taking your lumps that way. So there's really low barrier of entry there because you're just going to be managing properties for people. You get that experience. And then from there, if you really like it, you got to hit your comfort level. If you think duplexes and tries are great for you, start there. And then from there, just start building up.
And this is just, I want you guys to know, everyone that's listening, like what we're talking about here is most people will tell you, get in there, do this, do that, and, get your feet wet and, take on that $50 unit project. And what I'm liking what you guys are saying is that, you don't have to do that. Get your feet wet by just managing some properties, working for a management company, understanding the business from the inside, and then scale up that way. Really great advice, guys. That's really
It is
great
a business, Frank. Remember that. Everyone forgets it's really a business and it's all about the numbers. It's not about landlording. It's really about investing. So I think if you learn the business intimately, and we keep talking about implementing systems, the only way you're going to be able to implement a system is to be able to learn the business and then be able to implement the system. So 5 years down the road, the vehicle of real estate will be able to take you from point A to point B, where you can start working, in your business, not you working on it, not in it. So you'll be able to have that knowledge to implement the systems. And like Jake says, you'll be able to hire a Class A team that'll be able to run your properties. And that's the reason why you get into real estate is you want to have that passive income and make it a passive business. And if you don't set up in the very beginning all these systems and all this knowledge, you're not going to be able to get there.
And again, guys, we're going to talk about a little bit about that team, that building your team. I'm going to key players in just a few minutes. Mm-hmm. I'm really curious who those are, what you guys' responsibilities are. So before we get there, one question I want to ask you too is based on like what you guys have done in the past few years, initially starting out, what would you guys say is like your three biggest pitfalls or things that you've had to learn from when you guys got started?
Just three.
Just
I was going to say,
the top three. Obviously, there's tons more.
Sure.
School of Hard Knocks it's a hard through, but your top three that just come off the top of your head.
Yeah. So in the beginning, I talked about team, right? And you're just referencing that. We had a shaky team in the beginning. There was no doubt. We were running through maintenance guys, painters. Were the bane of my existence. They were killing me, literally. So, and we just did not have that team in place. So the shaky team in the beginning was very challenging. That was hard to deal with, but we got through it. We almost gave up. We talked about that. We did give up for a little bit, but then we got back in the game. We persisted, and thank God we did, right? And then the one thing that from an operations standpoint in the beginning that was challenging that we've gotten much better at is appropriate capital expenditure accounts. Some people will say $250 to $350 per unit per year. Well, in the beginning, with the crackdown that I referenced, it had a septic tank, right? Well, we had an inspection, but boom, a few months into it, down it goes, right? Thank God this thing was cash flowing because we were able to pull money out of the current cash flows to pay for it. But we weren't setting up CapEx accounts like we should have, right? So you got to be doing that from the beginning because you can get, it can bite you pretty quickly if you don't get a good inspection or something just is not found during the inspection. It can hurt. So
you just mentioned a term called CapEx. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Basically, capital expenditure account is an account that a bank really wants to see you set up. It's money you set aside for any large ticket items, capital expenditures such as hot water heaters, any assets, roofs, driveways, air conditioning units, anything that's you're going to capitalize. It's not really repair. You're actually replacing something on the property. So you want to be able to, if you have 10 units on the property and you, like Jake said, reference $250 per unit, you want to be able to put $2,500 per year away in a capital expenditure account on average. You want to do that. I mean, if you're buying a new property, you might put a little less, but if you're buying an older property, you might have to scale that up a little bit because you can see, hey, I got 5 years left on the roof. I don't want to wait 5 years to come up with a $17,000 bill to fix my roof. Let me start putting that money aside now. Banks like to see that. They like to see CapEx accounts. When you go to refinance a property, they see that you're really diligent with your savings. And it's all about part of your life. It's all about being really diligent and being really disciplined with putting money aside. That's like a rainy fund account. I guess anybody could consider that a rainy fund
Perfect for new
account.
investors. Yeah, rainy day account. Yep.
Yeah, you want that rainy day account. Do not tap that rainy day account unless you need to fix something. And you know what? After 2-3 years, if you see there's a surplus, then I guess you could take some out. But really just try to set that up.
Man, that's so good. We always tell people like you need at least like a 10-15 minute buffer, 15% buffer when dealing with rehabs, in case something arises that you're not prepared for. So same applies for commercial.
Yes.
That's great. Is it based off like a flat percentage? You say 250? Is it? I know there's a lot of other factors involved.
Yeah, well, it depends on where you are. Obviously, New York, it's much capital expenditures is much higher to fix a roof up here than it is down in Tennessee. So I would say it might be market specific. But what the rule of thumb is, we normally put away $250 per unit per year. So like I said, if you have 10 units at $250 per unit, you're going to be putting away $2,500 a year. Divide that by 12 months. So put away whatever, what is that, $100, $200 per month away in the account. So it'll accrue to $2,500 at the end of the year.
All right, right on. I was going to ask you guys, what you guys, as a follow-up question, like what you've done to improve on these processes. Obviously, you guys probably have found a better team. You guys create, I guess, a consistent CapEx fund. And what would you guys say the third pitfall is that you guys ran into?
Well, going back to the team.
Yeah.
If you're not operating at 100%, we're moving on. And that's been something that was hard for me to do in the beginning. But if you're operating, say 80%, if you're an independent contractor and you're giving us about 80% and the work's not getting done, we're moving on. We're not even messing around with it anymore because in the beginning, we'd hang in there with these guys and the work would keep getting worse and the attitude would keep getting worse. So, that might be tough for somebody in the beginning, but if someone's not giving you 100% and not getting the job done, move on. Be done with it.
That's great. I give Jake a lot of credit for that because I've been in business for 20 years. And it's almost like a cancer. When you have somebody that doesn't do the job, the cancer just keeps growing and growing. And it's hard sometimes. You work with these people all day. You develop a relationship with them. You don't want to fire them. It's hard. But I commend him. I give him a lot of credit for that because it's at the end of the day, it is business. It's about numbers. And Jake is, he's responsible to his other partners. He's responsible to me. So he knows that. And he knows if they're not doing the job, it's hurting his family and my family as well. So it's great that you have to cut the cancer out or else the cancer is going to grow. So I really commend him for that.
Yeah, and it's like one of those statements people make is, if you mess with my money, you mess with me, and it's so true. Like owning a business, it's a hard thing. Is building a relationship with these people. They have families, they have lives, but in the end, this is a business. So you got to let people go. Like I said, it's a cancer. It's
nothing personal, but actually it snowballs on you, and it's just you got to just be done with it. So we've also made our mantra just patience and persistence. We almost gave up in the beginning. Even the deals we're working on, the deal that we're closing on now, we were working on since August, right? So it went away, it came back to us, bang, bang, bang. So it's hanging in there, being patient but persistent, following up with the brokers a lot, and that's sort of been one of the things that we've worked on about not quitting. Right? It's cliche or whatever, but it's so true, and it's been the difference between our success and failure. There's no doubt in my mind.
I think it's relentless. The word is relentless. You don't want to be a pest, but at the same time, brokers don't get back to you. They have their own lives, so they might have forgotten. They might have fallen through the cracks. Remind them. Pick up the phone. Say, hey, what's going on? The deal that Jake referenced, we've been starting since August. So we're now in February. We got the contract December 31st, New Year's Eve week. So nobody works that week except for Jake and Gino. We got the contract.
Come on,
Jake, look over this contract. We're signing this thing. I said this has been 5 months. I got the deal rejected. I was on the beach in October with my family. I get the phone call. I'm in the water with the phone. He's like, you guys lost the deal. I'm like, dude, really? I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was just 3 months. So it came back to me during Thanksgiving. So like I said, I just kept calling him up saying, hi, happy Thanksgiving. So, I mean, you just have to really be persistent with it. And, you got to stick with it.
Okay. Yeah. So we're going to have two segments today, guys. If you're listening in, we're going to have two segments. First, we'll just kind of get some general questions out of the way. The second one's going to be more about, finding deals, where to look, the financing side of things, some other cool, great questions you're going to want to know. So definitely stay tuned for that. Now, One of the most frequent questions that we get, and if you could just kind of give like a higher little outline of this from our students, is funding. Like where, how, how hard is it to get? Should they be going to the banks, looking for private lenders? Where have you guys found the most success when it comes to financing your deals?
Yeah, I would say that it's deal specific, right?
Okay.
So we're looking at bigger properties. So to get a hard money lender on a 100-unit complex, I guess it's possible, but that's not really the mark. That's not that market. So my whole thing is this: if you find a good deal and you can show somebody that you're competent and credible, you're going to find the money. Because my hardest thing is finding a good deal, something that's really going to cash flow, right? So the thing is, you got to establish credibility for yourself in the beginning and show people that you can produce, and then the money will, if you find that deal, the money will come. Right? It's hard for people to get their head around that in the beginning, but I absolutely believe that. But in the beginning, you may have to, if you're doing a duplex or something, that may be something where you get hard money on. And that's not really our market or our strategy, but I think it's showing that you're competent and credible, and then you will be able to find the money by partnering.
Frank,
if you're doing multifamily.
There's a couple other avenues. I mean, we started with owner financing. Get owner financing. Go to those unattractive, ugly duckling properties that people are going to have problems getting on bank financing. Start with a property like that needs a little bit of rehab, needs a little work, and find a motivated seller. We're going to talk about mom and pop properties later, but find a motivated seller. Another thing you can do is if you have a 401k, you can either roll that over into a self-directed IRA. Self-directed IRAs invest in real estate, and if not, do what Jake and I did. The craziest thing that everybody will tell you not to do is to cash it in, take the 10% hit, and pay tax. And I've done it too. And you know what? If we didn't do that, we wouldn't be at 675 right now. So I mean, it's all up to how the comfort level that you have. I mean, they wouldn't tell us. People will tell you not to do that. But you know what? I'll just give you an example. If you take $100,000 out, you're going to take $10,000 off right away. So you're only left with 90. Then you're paying federal taxes. But we've done something called cost segregation that basically wipes that tax liability out. So, I mean, it's all about the opportunity cost of money. Is it worth 90 now, or is it worth, 15 years from now where I'm going to be, taxed fully on that thing once I take the money out? So I'd rather have the property now. I mean, I had this money set aside years ago. So that's something that people have to really do some soul searching. If they're going to take it out and go on a vacation, I would not say to do that. But if you're going to buy a 10-unit complex, that's going to be part of your, financial freedom in the future, I would seriously consider doing that. If not, roll it over into a self-directed IRA, go that route. Another way you guys can start with raising some money, get friends, family. And when you talk to people, don't ask them for money. You're not asking them for money. If you have a deal, you're offering them an opportunity. Do you have the opportunity? So it's all about using words, right? It's not, can I have some money? You don't want money. You're giving them something in return for you. So it's value for value. I mean, where can they make 10% cash on cash return on their money? They're making 1% in the bank. So grandma, if you can offer 8%, let's say debt financing, where you give her a note or a loan, you can do that. Or if you have friends that you want to give them equity, that's great. But you're offering them an opportunity. So that's one place you can start. And I'm sure everyone who pulls out a piece of pen and paper right now can write down 15 people that they know intimately, and they can go to them, show them your business plan. Don't go there asking for money, but give them the opportunity, show them the opportunity, and see what happens. I think that's a great way to start. Savings, your home equity line of credit. That's what I did. I pulled out a chunk of change for the big property. I knew down the road a year from now I'd be able to refinance it, and I paid the whole home equity line right back. So I have nothing. It's all paid off. But that's a great way for short term. Jake was referencing hard money lenders. They typically are very expensive. 2 points, 3 points on a loan. So if it's a $100,000 loan, they're going to charge you $3,000 on a 3-point loan, closing costs, plus, the rates are a little exorbitant. But if it's short-term financing, you need something to fix and flip, use a hard money lender. That's a great avenue. It all depends on what type of, strategy you're trying to employ. But these are all tactics that you need to get that money.
I just want to touch on one thing with the owner financer real quick.
Yeah.
You don't have to get the owner to hold the note for the entire property. You can get them to hold the down payment or part of the down payment. And we've had real good success with doing that. So they're going to get the bulk of their money from the bank, right? And you're just basically asking them to finance your down payment or part of it. That way you're less money that you're having to come up with. It's kind of a win-win. That's something people don't always think about. So.
And it might be difficult in your first deal. Our first deal, we did it, but I'll reference the large deal we did, the 281 units. That was an owner finance deal. We financed the thing totally with the bank and the
down
owner.
payment.
held the entire down payment. So it was an $11 million acquisition where the owner held a 20% note down, and the bank was bank financing. So we came out of pocket maybe $100,000 because the bank wanted a little bit of a line of credit, letter of credit. The moral of the story was that wasn't our first deal, wasn't our second deal. We had a lot of credibility. The banks knew our business plan. The seller felt comfortable holding the note because if we crap out, as we say, on paying him, he's just going to take the property back. The bank was comfortable with that because the banks knew if we didn't pay and we defaulted, that the seller who sold us the property would take the property over. So there was a lot of moving parts. So there's a lot of safety in that. But they know our business plan. They knew our model. They knew that this was the type of asset that we invested in. So I guess they took the chance with us. It's pretty much, it was a great deal for everyone included, everyone around.
And then, so just so everybody knows, before you go out there, pull out your 401k into a self-directed and just do this. One thing I really want to put emphasis on is to have a plan, guys.
Yes.
Jake and Gino have been very clear about that. And that's one thing I do want to touch up on is, a proposal, a credibility kit. Sometimes when you're seeking out private lenders, you're giving them a credibility kit. Is there something similar to like commercial real estate when approaching lenders or potential private lenders?
Yeah, I mean, we have a credibility kit. The way we got our first loan, it was 10% owner financing on the down payment, and we had to come up with the other 10%. But I had to go into a community bank and meet with the board members and present my proposal. It was a business plan. It was very professional. It talked about Gino and myself. It talked about what we were going to do with the property. It talked about the cash flows. So we were very prepared. So when they had questions, we were able to say, okay, page 2, this is how we're outlining. This is how we're going to grow the business. And so we had a plan in place. We didn't go in there and say, we want to buy this property. Right?
Give me money.
Yes. So you have to be prepared. And then we were able to show our credibility. And then when you get properties under your belt, you add them to your credibility kit. So when you're going to looking for partners, you can say, as Gino talked about, Grandma, the reason I'm going to be able to show you a 10% return, go through your credibility kit. This is what I've done in the past. This is what I'm going to do on this deal. This is my projected cash flows, right?
And the credibility kit also talks about your strategy, basically how you're going to create value. We like to buy mom and pops, properties that are depressed. They have no systems in place, burned out landlords, rents are low. A lot of these factors come into play. We look for these properties, and if you see our properties, that's what basically we've been buying. That's our whole portfolio. So the banks see that, our partners see that, they're like, wow, this is what these guys gravitate towards. And then you show them how to create value by raising rents, by fixing certain things up. And that's what the credibility book shows investors, what your business plan is. Is
this like a 2 to 3 page kind of thing? Is this kind of like a PowerPoint presentation you guys do?
Yeah, it's basically it's a PowerPoint. You can do a PowerPoint. It's ours is like 15 pages now because we've got all of our properties on there. We list all of our properties because we like to show people what we buy them at, the criteria, what we bought them at, how we added value to the property. So on one, for instance, we added storage sheds, we added more units, we brought in laundry. So the credibility kit shows the investor exactly how did you create value and how did you make money on this. We like to tell them what kind of financing we got on the deal. And then on the back end, we'll always like to tell them what our exit strategy is as far as either selling or refinancing. So it can be, a 10-page document. But if you can't write your business plan on the back of a napkin and have somebody understand it, then you're in trouble. You want people to understand what you're doing very easy, very succinctly. So I think that's one of the strategies, one of the steps you should do when you first start out.
Case studies. We got our case studies in there, and our repositioning plan. When we go into a mom and pop complex, we basically look for places that have high vacancy. We go in, we fill the vacant units and market rents, right? We rehab them a little, fill that. Then we implement something called RUBS, which is ratio utility billing systems. We're basically billing the tenants back for the water because these mom and pop owners, they're paying all the water bills. Right? So there's 2 huge chunkers in revenue generation right there. We fill the vacant units at market, we go in, we bill them back for the water, and then once that's complete, we'll go through and then we'll raise the remaining renters to market rates as we're upgrading the property.
That's 3 huge profit areas. You guys are taking costs down and increasing the rent.
And you can see what happens. Yeah, you can see what happens. That's the multiplier effect. And it's only a 12-month plan. I would consider that micro repositioning. It's not something where you see all these fix and flippers go in and start ripping down walls. You want to stay away from those kinds of deals in real estate because once you start ripping down walls, you don't know what's behind those walls. Time consuming, a lot of work. Well, you don't need to do that in real estate. You need to find problems, small problems, and fix those small problems and concentrate on those problems.
So I'll tell you guys this: old properties are going to have old property problems. It's unavoidable. So mainly just focus on the things that allow your tenants to be comfortable. You know, updates. You know, make sure everything's working, the water's good, the electricity's good. That's such a great point you guys covered on. Is, you know, so many people go into this because of all these, you know, what is it, the HD TV, or is that what it is? The
HGTV,
yeah, where they're always like, yeah, let's go and renovate, and like, look how beautiful we can make this home. We're going to spend $60,000 on a $150,000 home. I'm like, well, it depends. It comes down to the numbers. If you could just put 5-10 grand in and still cash flow from it, why not just do that? So that's awesome that you guys are scaling that way. Now, man, I had a question for you guys that had kind of just slipped my mind off the last one we were just talking about. But if it comes back to me, I'll bring it up. But are you guys finding it easier to work with banks now with commercial properties? You know, there's a stigma there that they always make you jump through hoops. Are you guys working with like the Wells Fargos, BOAs, and Chase? Are you guys working for credit unions? Who do you guys?
Real quick, banks do make jump through hoops, and the whole packet of what you need to give them is getting more and more. It's getting more and more difficult. But if you get everything in order, as far as your net worth sheets, they want your personal financial statements, have all that stuff up to date, have 2 years of tax returns, have it ready to go. Have what your scheduled real estate owned, have your cash flows, have everything in a packet ready to go. So when they call you and they say, I need this, you email it to them the next day, they'll be flabbergasted. They won't even know what to do. They'll be shocked because they expect you 2 weeks to have it. So you know what? When you get your tax returns, put them on a file, get your last 2 years, get all your financial information up to date. You should be doing your net worth every 3 months anyway, just to keep it up to date. Once you have all the stuff, shoot it over to the banker.
Yeah, and also get a referral, because we've heard this from bankers before. You walk in the door and say, I want a loan. They're going to say, ha, 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 ha. And seriously, because what they want to do, get a referral from your broker. Ask your broker, who do you use for a banker? They'll know. Get a referral from your accountant, right? Because if they refer you to the banker they know, there's going to be that connection there, and they're going to take you more seriously because someone else thinks you're worth their time, right? If you walk in off the street, that's one of the things I've heard from bankers where they say, yeah, we don't even typically mess around with guys. And, you know, it's just because they've got burned there before. They want to know that you're in the game, you have a network around you, and you're serious.
It's like speed of delivery, right? Having these things in place, giving to them rather quickly. Because I know, filling out the paperwork and you get all these things in order can take weeks, sometimes months for people. So it's obviously a way to kind of prove your credibility in another way.
And Frank, we do use community banks. We've used the BOAs. We like to deal with the community banks. I mean, Jay can speak about this a little bit more. We've developed a great relationship with a banker down in Tennessee. We love his business. We love his bank. We love, the way that he treats us. We treat him great because we give him a lot of demand deposits every month. But at the same time, he treats us really fair. And, he looks at the deal. We're doing 15% down now. I mean, most banks typically want 20%.
Yeah.
He's giving us 15% down because he knows that we're buying them right. He knows that they're cash flowing right. He knows. That's the thing. He knows the market intimately, so he knows what the value of these properties are. So when you deal with a community bank, a bank that's in the area, they'll know the market better. So I think that's one of the important reasons why we like to work with these guys.
So I had a question that came up from before we were talking about the owner financing thing. Typically, how long are you guys owner financing for? 5, 10, 15 years?
Well, that's the beauty of owner financing. You can make it anything you want. I mean, you refi the property. So, I mean, a few tips on owner financing. Try to get your amortization rates as long as possible, possibly 30 years. They're called soggy terms. Try to get the lowest interest rate you can. Try to get the longest term. We got a 5-year term in our first deal. We probably should have asked her for 10, but we got 5. We were thrilled. We got it. Let's do it. So try to get your term out. It's basically a balloon term. So after 5 years, the note comes due all in one shot. If you refi it out or you can pay her off within 5 years, great. But if not, just be wary of that. Try to get at least 7 years, if not 10 years. Try to get the lowest interest rate. Those are really things that you really want to concentrate on.
Do you guys have a rough range of what a good interest rate would be for commercial?
You get 4% right now. I think 4% on a 10-year term, 30-year AM. I think everyone would feel very comfortable with that. And a lot of people just focus on the rate. And if you're looking to generate cash flow, look at the amortization, because a lot of community banks will say 20 years, right? We're getting 25 years with the community banks. With Fannie and Freddie, you can go out to 30. And with our owner financing, we're on 30-year amortizations right now. So that's something that's really going to help generate cash flow. It's going to give you more free cash flow every month. So don't just focus on the rate.
It depends on your strategy. If you want to pay them off sooner, you get 15 years. I don't want to really pay it off. I'd rather cash flow. I need cash flow to pay my bills. I need cash flow to put money in my pocket. So
Yeah.
I like the 30 years. The interest owner financing is great because what happens is on our first deal, we had refinanced the property. We owed her money. We are going to pay her off in one shot. What she did, she just extended the note with us. She likes that money coming in every month because if she got the $40,000 from us, what is she going to do with it? She's either A, going to spend it, or B, she's going to put it in the bank. So if she puts it in the bank at 1% or whatever, she's making 5% with us. So she just extended the note out another 5 years. For us, it's awesome. It's found money. It's a way to leverage your ability to keep buying more property.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, let me ask you this, guys. One of these things, one of the statements that I would say a lot of, I would say gurus are saying out there is, especially if they're toting some type of commercial real estate education or some sort, they're like, hey, how to get into a commercial real estate deal with none of your own money or no money down. Is that really possible? Or, should that be like a red flag for investors when they hear that?
It's possible. We've done it. We've done it with the 281 unit deal. In the beginning, we were able to get 10% down because they financed 10% of our down payment, right? But you gotta be prepared. You gotta be able to show your credibility. You gotta be able to show the bank how they're gonna get their money back and how you're gonna profit every month. So I think the easiest way to get into something with no money down is through owner financing, right? Is it easy to find? No. Is it out there? Yes. It's how relentless, how persistent you're going to be in finding those deals and how long you're willing to stay in the game. I think that's the difference maker a lot of the times.
And you're going to touch on teams later on, and I think
in just a few minutes. Yep.
Yeah, one of the most important team members is your broker. Do you have a broker that knows what owner financing is? 95% of the brokers out there don't even know what the term means. Purchase money, holding paper, seller financing. They don't even know what it means. So find a broker who knows what it is, how that broker can educate the seller on what it is, and that's how you'll be able to get it. But if you go into somebody just talking about it, they have no idea what it is, you have no shot in heck to getting that seller financing. That's
good. And I think owner financing was a lot more popular, you would say like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Now it's a little bit not as popular, I guess, among investors. I guess carrying the note is not as fun as it used to be. But with the right, with the right terms, with the right type of, pitch, I think you can get,
I think
these mom and pops on board, right?
Yeah, with the right kind of person too. I mean, if you're getting somebody who's retiring, and like I keep saying, they don't want to get that capital gain hit. They don't want to get that big, all of a sudden they got $700,000. So they can defer that capital gain. That works awesome for them. If they want to have a steady flow of income coming in every month, some of them don't even know about that opportunity that they can have. So that's why I keep saying the broker or you guys have to educate the seller on, hey, this is an option. This is great for you. It's great for me, but it's great for you. You're not going to get a big tax bill. And you know what? You're going to be getting $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month for the next X amount of years. So that's one way to pitch it.
Awesome. Now that what I want to get into now, guys, is, how are you guys finding these deals? So what is one of the biggest factors or say market indicators that you guys look for when trying to find a good deal?
Well, we're looking for 10% cash on cash returns. We're looking for 8 caps, 1.2 debt service coverage ratio, but it's right now it's based on our relationships. We're looking for bigger deals. A lot of the deals we're looking for currently are off market. When we got started, we found deals on LoopNet, and the flag for us was if it's on LoopNet for more than a year, then that could be a potential opportunity. Because a lot of times after it sits on LoopNet for 2, 3, 4 months, people are saying everyone's looked at it and it's not worth it. But guess what? After it's sat on there for a year, a lot of the times those sellers are now starting to become motivated because they've had it out there for so long and they're more willing to negotiate.
I think one of the ways to use LoopNet is go on LoopNet in a specific market. See how many brokers there are listing properties. If you see a broker that has 4, 5, 6 listings, you know the broker's a player in that market. Give them a call. Try to set up a relationship with that broker. Say, hey, my name is Gino and Jake. We're looking for C properties in emerging markets that we can get 10% cash on cash return. Do you have any deals like that? Just start talking to him. Start using the lingo. Start showing him that you're a serious player. I see you have these properties on LoopNet. They don't really fit my parameters. Do you have any other deals? And this might take, a month or 2 months of you doing this and just, reconnecting with the broker, try to build some rapport with him. he might send you a deal 3 months, 4 months down the road. Let him send you deals. You don't like the deals, you just say, hey, thanks, broker. The deal really doesn't work for my parameters. If you have anything else, send it back to me. They'll respect you for that. I think, if you know what you want and you show it to them, sooner or later they're going to find something because they're the players in the market. You want to find the players in the market. Go to your lawyer, go to a banker in the specific market, start asking them, start showing them your business plan. You can get referrals from them. I mean, you could even use Craigslist, I guess, if you want. But I think, using those team members is really, one of the best ways to find a deal.
Anything follow up on that one, Jake?
It's relationships, though. You got to have those relationships out there because I know the top 5 multifamily brokers in my area, right? And besides that, no one else is really doing it. There's 5 that really moved the business, right? Yeah. And so they all know me by first name. I know them by first name. So having that relationship, they know when they get something, they're calling me, right? Because they know we're closers. They know we get the deals done. So I think the relationships, getting out there, speaking with these folks is very important.
It's my Paisan Pareto. Pareto's law. It's 80-20. I always tell Jake this. 20% of the business is done by 80% of the people, and 80% of the business is done by 20%. So that 20% controls 80% of the business. That's why everyone says the 1% rule in the economy. The 1% controls so much because they're the ones who are out there. They're the ones who are taking action. So if you can find those players in the market, and it's not really hard to find them, you just go on the MLS, you see who's listing stuff, you see who's generating the volume, and then you target them.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that I work personally for me, and obviously for you guys too, is doing deals. Of course, there's that that cold lead, but as well as networking. Always that first deal is difficult, but once you get that under your belt, you prove your concept. Those people, whether it's a private lender that you return their money and with decent returns, they're going to want to give you their money again.
That's right.
Brokers, same thing. I know for us, for 10, 15 years, for a while, we were working directly with the broker. We work with Section 8 families, homes, and anytime a new property would come up that fit in that county, the broker would call us and be like, would you be interested? So that's something you got to look forward to, and why every relationship that you guys establish, whether it's on your team members or people you're just calling, especially your brokers, to really make sure they know who you are, to establish that professionalism, because like I said, it may not be today, but even 3, 4, 5 months down the road, you may get that call that could be worth, $2, $3, $4, $5 million a deal for you. So, always remember to be prospecting and always remember to be building those relationships. So, one thing I do also want to ask you guys is, obviously, it's not, commercial real estate is not one of those niches like residential where you should be doing this on your own. You can, but it seems like you may be pulling out a lot of your hair. And obviously, you guys are working together. So, what would you guys say? Let's talk about the team players now. Like, who are some of the key players, other than your brokers, that people should include initially on their team?
Yeah, I can run these down real quick. So it's extremely important next to your broker is going to be your banker, right? We've used a few banks in town, but we have 1 or 2 that we typically go to, right? We're also looking at, Fannie and Freddie and dealing with different mortgage brokers there. But your banker is going to be crucial because once you prove, to your point, you prove your concept and you're duplicating it over and over again, it's going to be easier for them to go to their board, present it, and get it approved. So that's huge, right? Then you want to have a good legal team in place. When you're doing rentals, look, you're going to have to evict people. We have a fixed cost eviction process with some attorneys in town. So every time we know this is what it's going to cost. It's a low rate. We're not having to worry about it. One being 700, one being 1,000, right? It's low every time. So and there's other things that the attorneys do, operating agreements, et cetera, right? Yeah. Our title company was a huge part to our success in the beginning. We were a little wet behind the ears, didn't necessarily know all the terminology and things, and they kind of coddled us a little bit, and they helped us out so much, and we've gone back to them time and time again. So having a good title company, having a good relationship there has made my life so much easier. Good accountants. That was one of the ways that we scaled the business, was by utilizing the accountants, utilizing the bookkeepers to do some of the work that I was doing in the beginning. And then we were able to transfer that to the bookkeeper. And guess what? The professional bookkeeper is a lot better than the Jake bookkeeper, right? But Jake thought he was a good bookkeeper, but it turned out he wasn't the best, right? So that's huge. That's huge. As you scale, you may want to go to a management company. You may want to create your own management company, but the thing is, if you're going to get into a larger complex and you're working a job, you may want to employ a management company, right? You're going to have to know the vendors if you're doing it yourself. So that's huge. Insurance is a big part of it. We've, going back to my 80%er kind of thing. If even an insurance broker is not giving you their all, you may have to move on, right? And this is one of those things where you may want to have your lawyer look at your policy, because it's great to have insurance and you're paying for it and everything, but if there's a gap in your insurance, that's not a day when something happens and you're trying to file that claim and then there's a gap. You don't want to go through that, right? Ooh. So that might be one of those things you really look into, pretty heavily. One thing Gino touched on earlier was cost segregation. One of the great things, I was able to liquidate my pension and my 401k. And guess what? I'm not paying those taxes because we use cost segregation, which is basically accelerating the depreciation of these larger properties and therefore creating a huge loss for us at the end of the year in a shorter amount of time. And therefore, when I have these tax hits on my 401k and whatnot, it's able to wash that out, so I'm not paying those huge penalties. And then I'm able to reposition that cash into deals, right?
Wow, man.
Maybe for some of the early guys, that might be like, what the hell are you talking about? But stay with us. It works. It's awesome. We love it. Guess what? Millennials find their apartments online. You need a good web guy. You need someone that's going to create that website for you and help you with your internet marketing. It used to be location, 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 right? To me, it's becoming vicinity, 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 because guess what? They're not driving by saying, I want to live there. The potential renters, they're finding you online, right? And if you're in the vicinity of the jobs, you don't have to be on the intersection like Walgreens. Walgreens puts all their locations at a busy intersection, right? You don't have to be for apartments. Think about that.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. But I'm starting to see the Walgreens now.
Coaches and mentors. If I didn't have Gino in the beginning, I didn't know about multifamily. I knew I wanted to create passive income. I wanted to build wealth. He was able to bring that knowledge and years of experience, and boom, started our partnership. We use RUBS. We talked about that earlier. Ratio utility billing systems. We're billing the tenants back for the water. You don't want to overbill. That'd be a no-no. You get in trouble, right? So you may want to employ a company to do that. It really doesn't cost anything because they're charging the tenants fees along the way. We could do that on another call just on RUBS. But and then also we're not in the laundry operation business. We use laundry companies that basically come in, provide the machines, and we do a revenue split with them. So to really scale up and build a professional team, that's a good starting point, if you will.
Let me hit the coaches aspect of it. I think everyone out there who's in business, who's an entrepreneur, should have a coach. You look at successful people like Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods, they have employed 7, 8, 9, 10 coaches, whether it's a life coach, business coach, swing coach. I think coaches can really guide you. They really make you think outside the box. They raise your energy level. They make you think, make you look at things differently. They ask you questions to empower you and maybe say, why can't you do that? And they make you think outside the box. Mentors are great. You don't pay mentors. Mentors should be, guys you call up and say, get some advice. Coaches, you pay, you have some skin in the game. And when you have skin in the game, what happens? You're going to perform for them. They keep you accountable, but you're going to perform for them and you're going to perform for yourself and you're going to see a big leap. A lot of these gurus pitch these programs, but a lot of these programs do work. I did a coaching program. It really helped me. It's all about what you want to do. If you want to succeed in life and you want to put the time into it, they can't put the time into it for you, but you have to put the time into it. If you can put the time into it, I think people should really look into coaching and really look at it. Whether you want to do life coaching or business coaching, whatever it is, just get on a call with somebody and just try it. I guarantee you guys will love it.
I'm picking up on something here, guys. It's interesting. I've interviewed a lot of people in my time here at REIClub, and there's people where I find myself just going like this, like those bobbleheads. And it's because you guys have touched on so many great points when it comes to how you should be approaching your business, getting coaching and mentoring. And like you said, you don't need to pay a boatload of money for a mentor. I know for myself, I kind of just stumbled across some people who were in these businesses and just started talking to them. So if you guys know anybody who has, been successful in commercial, has been successful, or, I'll give you guys an opportunity to reach out to Jake and Gino. We'll give you some contact info for them. You have any questions for them, or asking advice, or you do have a deal that maybe they can kind of give you some insight on, we're going to give you guys that opportunity as well. But really, kind of listen to what Jake and Gino are saying today, because, these guys really know what they're doing. In 4 or 5 short years, they really amassed a pretty huge portfolio in commercial real estate, which I feel like is probably one of the 1%ers right now. Not a lot of people can do that in commercial. But so going back to the questions I had for you guys, you guys were mentioning about management, scaling up, parts of your team, You said originally you guys did this on your own, or I know these, Jake, you said you did. And are management companies like a must now, or what's a fair fee that you should be paying them?
Well, unless you are Superman and you have more than 10 units, you have to put some kind of business structure in place, right? What we've done is we've created our own management company,
Okay.
Gino and I, and that's we have employees. I think we have 10 or 12 W-2s and probably 30 independent contractors that we use. Okay, so that's our own company in addition to the different holding companies that we have. Okay, for the properties. If you don't want to do that, then you definitely have to have a management company in place. I've never personally hired one. I know, Gino, you've hired one for your Rochester properties before.
Yeah,
Gino can speak to the fees a little bit better on that point because we're a little bit different structure. But
I can give you a little background. I think the whole thing is a paradigm shift. If the person wants to be a landlord, then you don't want a management company. But I think everyone on this call should really strive to become an investor, an asset manager. You want to be able to manage these assets. So for you to do that, you really want to be able to grow your portfolio. And the only way you can truly grow your portfolio and create wealth is by hiring a management company or forming one. I mean, down the road, when you have 20, 25, 30 units, it's hard to get to every single one of them. You might lose some cash flow. You might lose the 5 or 6% to do it, but you have to think long term. You have to think what your strategy, what your goal is in place. Your goal is in place is to grow your business. And the only way to grow your business is to really think about that. Now, management companies, they come in all shapes and sizes. If you're going to hire a management company that is dealing with what we're dealing, make sure you go on a website called irom.org. You go on there, they will have a list of management companies. Make sure you hire a management company that deals with your typical asset, whether it's a strip mall, a multifamily, single families, duplexes. Make sure that's the first thing that they are really relevant in. That's what their business is. The second thing is make sure they're large enough to take care of you. If they're only managing 30 units and me and Jake are going to bring them 156 units, they're not going to be able to handle your portfolio. So make sure you vet them out. Make sure you get some referrals and see what other properties they're dealing with. What other properties they're managing. You want to see what they're doing and how they're doing it. As far as fees go, I had duplexes up in Rochester. It was a tougher area, C minus area, from A to D. D is war zones. It really wasn't a war zone, but it wasn't that much better. They were getting 12% of the revenue, which to me was great because I did nothing. They managed the whole thing as far as evictions goes, apartment returns, renting. Then when they rented it, they got a month's fee. So at the time it was $600 plus they get 12% per month. Some people might think that's steep, but I was the asset manager. They were the property manager. Big difference. I was getting a check every month for doing nothing. I had to buy the asset properly. I had to manage it, make sure that I was managing the manager. That's what your job is, to manage the manager. Sounds weird, but that's what you're doing. Properties that was duplexes. Properties, I would say from 10 to 50 units. Jake, you'd say about between 8 and 10% of the revenue. Anything above 50, around 8%, and anything 100 and above is about 5%. Does that sound accurate, Jake?
I think it's going to be market specific too, and it depends. It's like anything. They could charge less fees, less percentage up front, but they could be hitting you for fees every time they go to Home Depot and buy something. And so it just depends how that's structured, and you really got to look at what their offer is.
Yeah, but the thing is, just call a few of them up, see what the prices are, and you know what? Don't chisel them down. If the market rate is 6%, don't offer them 3% because you're going to get 3% of value. That's what you're going to get. Yeah. Exactly. So pay them the going rate, but make sure that at the back end, you sign a management contract. You let it go month to month. Don't give them a year to do a deal, because if you want to get out with them, you won't be able to get out. So make it month to month, because if they want to fire you, they should have the right to be able to fire you also. So you can sell, listen, I want a month to month contract. Let's go month to month. If you want to get rid of me, that's fine. Be able to control your own money, to be able to have that bank account in your name, not in the property management company's name. Because what happens if they disappear, that's not your money then. It's in their account. So make sure that they start putting money into your account. I think that's really, really important.
That's awesome that you guys talk. I'm glad you guys brought that up about the management companies, and thank you guys for covering those points. I know we're coming down to the hour, and I really want to do one last thing, which is talk about that deal that you guys are working on. I know you guys said back in August of last year, you guys put a deal together. Has that closed? Is it something that you guys are managing now? Like, what's a certain? Give me some more insight to that.
Yeah. So we started. Gino was down with our other partner in August of 2015. We were going around looking at some of our current assets, looking at some other things, and right before I was dropping them off at the airport, we met a broker at Starbucks. First time we ever met him face to face, right? Right, Gino? That was
National broker. Yep.
Yep. He was from Nashville, came into Knoxville to meet with us, and was pitching a little 10-unit property at the time. And we started talking about this new deal that we're working on. And so started getting. I went and inspected it, looked good, and it was a call to offers. So essentially, it's not on LoopNet, it's not out there, right? They're just saying we have a network of people that we know that can close on this. We're asking them to put their offers in, and basically the highest one wins, more or less, right? Well, we came in third place. We felt good about our offer, but we didn't win. So we're pretty disappointed. That's the one Gino was talking about. He was on the beach.
Oh,
so
it's a strike price. We had a strike price. We did not exceed the strike price because we did not want to overpay. Because if you overpay, there goes your refi, ability, and there goes your ability to actually create the wealth. So
yeah. So deal went away. We stayed with the broker. We said, look, if anything changes, because the group that came in first place in the area, they're known as retraders. And I don't know if you're familiar with this term, but basically they'll put an offer out there, get a property under contract, and right before they're going to close on the thing, they say, well, I need to fix this, that, and the other thing. I want, $500,000 off the purchase price, right?
Big no-no.
Yeah. Well, guess what? That happened. So and finally the owners got upset with them, and after their due diligence period, the thing blew up, right? So long story short, we get a call from the broker. I think it was in December. Hey, the thing's still, available. I think it's coming back. Well, we're still in second place now. We moved up a slot, but we're still in second place. But I was hammering with him. I said, look, I know we haven't done business together, but we're closers. If we say the reason our price is what it is because we don't want to retrade, right? This is what we know it's worth. This is what we can run it at. And so I kept hammering him. I said, look, we're going to close on this thing, right? So finally, we came up a little bit in price, about $100,000. It's a $100,000, $7 million deal. So yeah, it's not crazy, right? That was enough to get the seller over the top to accept our offer because the people that were now in first place were they're big, much bigger than us, and they move big. Big companies move slow, right? Yeah. And they wanted to get this thing done. So we kept just beating that drum, said, look, we're closers, we're going to get it done. We raised our price a little bit. I think, Gino, was it New Year's Eve we got under contract?
12/31. I'll never forget. I was working the restaurant, so it was a busy company. I'm thinking, dude, you're sending me a contract now? I mean, we've had 4 months here. We're going into the holidays. And I didn't think they were going to do it because a lot of these banks and this company that held this property, they're a huge company. They're on vacation. They're not even in town. They're traveling. So they must have been really motivated to finally just sell this thing. So they got the contract over to us. And you know what? It took us a couple weeks to go back and forth on the contract. So that was another 2 weeks. So it took us to like the third week in January to actually get signed contracts. So, once we signed it over, sent it over to them, they signed it. So you're talking from like the beginning of August to like the middle of January. So, it was
and persistence.
Yeah. So
that's absolute patience and persistence. What do you got? Like 4 months? Well, since August, it's been like 7, right?
I say the middle of the summer to the dead of the winter. I mean, if you tell somebody that, they'll think you're nuts. But, we like the property because there's a lot of value add components to it. As, investors will say, rents were a little bit lower, a little bit of vacancy. The property had a little bit of a stigma as having a little bit of problems, even though it's in a beautiful area, beautiful
Great
market.
Area. Yeah.
They weren't running it properly. The management company was charging excessive fees. There's some units we're going to be able to convert over from the laundry to back into regular generating units. We're going to make the laundry centralized. They have a beautiful pool, beautiful facilities. Anything else, Jake, on the property that really sticks out to you?
Yeah, we're basically taking an area that behind the pool that it was used for maintenance. We're knocking down a wall, going to put some treadmills in, put a nice little gym, and that's the centralized laundry. People will be able to look at the pool while they're doing things. And therefore we'll get 3 units back that they're currently renting out, or they're currently using for laundry units. So that's gonna create some more units. We just got the bank just approved the loan yesterday, actually. So we're right there. We're probably we got time. We're moving very quickly, but I would say probably first week of March we'll be closed and we'll be taking over.
And there's a lot of value adds on this property. They also have the cable bill. They have a cable revenue that they just signed, $50,000. So we're going to be getting a nice chunk of that. I mean, it's a contract with the cable company, but I don't care who services contract. I mean, we're going to get some bucks on that. So we don't mind doing that one. So there's a lot of little value adds on these bigger properties.
It seems like what's really exciting about commercial, it's almost like a blank canvas, like you guys, use the terminology value adds, right? You guys, anything that you add in there has a potential, I would say like almost an exponential return.
Yes.
You know, you have your initial front cost, setting it up, maintenance here and there, but it's, you know, like all investments, it not only pays for itself, it has substantial cash flow added.
Yes.
Yep. So that's
Frank,
awesome.
I don't know if Jake mentioned this because he's always mentioning it to me, but we buy these properties on actual numbers. That's what makes the great thing about it. We're buying it on what his revenue is $100,000. That's what he's getting per month on this property. We know that we're going to be able to increase that revenue by another $5,000 to $6,000 per month easily. So we're buying it at that number, at a 10% cash on cash, at an actual 7.5 cap. That's where we're buying it at. So that's when we say value add. You're adding value to it by either adding income, adding amenities to it. It's always either getting that NOI up. You want to get that net operating income up. Once you get that NOI up, either by increasing the revenue or decreasing the expenses, that's why these value adds, that's why these multis are really, really exciting, because the more zeros you have, more units you have, it just becomes a bigger number, you know.
So one question I completely forgot to ask you guys earlier, and I'm glad we're talking about this now, is vacancies. You know, is there a specific vacancy number you guys are looking for? Is like 60%, 30%, you know?
If you asked our partner, he wants everything at 100% every day.
Oh, you know.
But the ones we're buying, this one has higher vacancies than what we've typically purchased. There was the 136 unit property we bought had 30 vacancies when we first bought it. And that was great because guess what? Their income was so low. They were doing about $650,000 a year. We did $1 million on that property last year, actually a little more. So and that all goes back to filling the vacant units at market, implementing the RUBS, and then raising the remaining renters. That's the kind of swell in cash that you can see. And that's why with this new property that we're doing, they have hardly anybody on RUBS. So we'll go in. I think they have right now 6 vacants. We're going to bump those up a little bit in rents because we know they're a little under market. And then we're going to go through and get everybody on RUBS. Okay. You know, we're talking $35 to $45 a door times 156. You can see that makes a big difference over time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then go back through and raise those remaining renters to market rates. It's gonna make a big deal in the gross cash rents and also the NOI. So,
dude, I got to tell you guys, you know, I'm a landlord, and you guys, if you guys are in the business of landlording, like I am landlording, I don't really like it that much. I'm gonna tell you guys straight up, I don't like it. And
I don't either.
The idea of managing your managers is really kind of something I've been trying to transition into. So I want to first say thank you guys, because, you know, today's call really helped me personally better understand this business and kind of where we want to head. I know, like, it's a family business for us. That's kind of where we want to end up transitioning into. So if you're on this call today and you're a landlord and you're just kind of you're getting tired of it and you just fit into that tired landlord category, you know, commercial real estate may be the next step up for you, and to build something out like Gino and Jake have. Now, Gino, Jake, let me ask you this. You know, for our members who want to get to know you guys a little bit more, or maybe want to get in hold of you, see what kind of, you know, if you guys do mentoring or coaching, things like that, that'd be wonderful. How do our members get a hold of you? Is there an email address that I can give out to them?
Yeah, so there's a few ways. Our website is jakeandgino.com. Okay. And then so you can get a hold of us 2 ways, jake@jakeandgino.com, right? Or Gino@jakeandgino.com.
Thanks for making it hard for our people, guys.
So, yeah.
So if you guys have any questions for Jake and Gino, maybe you're looking to get a mentor, or maybe you just have some questions about a deal, and do you guys do like partnerships and things like that on properties?
We do. I'm getting tons of offers now from friends and family. They see the model that I've done. They want to invest their money. Some people just don't have the time to do it. They say, you know what? And it's all about integrity. It's all about knowing what you're doing. And it's all about saying, listen, your money is my money. I have skin in the game. If I'm going to take your money, you're going to have skin in the game also. So it's all about that relationship. We're going to start syndicating. Sooner or later, we're going to start running out of our own money, you know. So we're going to have to, that's our next step.
That's a good problem to have, right?
It is, but it's frustrating too. You know what I'm saying? You want to own it, but at the same time.
You want to take every good deal that comes your way. You don't want to push anything off. So
yeah,
right.
But at the same time, that's the next step. That's our next goal.
So yeah, guys, you know, get a hold of Jake and Gino at Jake@JakeandGino or Jake@JakeandGino.com. Go check them out. Check out the website. They're really cool guys. And we're going to bring this call to a conclusion. Guys, you guys are wonderful. I really do appreciate your time. I would love to do a follow-up with you guys on any other topic on covering commercial. You guys definitely know your stuff, so I want to thank you guys again. For everyone on our call today, we really appreciate your time. I hope you guys did enjoy the content. Again, if you could leave us a favorable comment on iTunes, leave us a like on YouTube. It really helps us create more videos like this. It shows us that you guys are watching, you guys are enjoying, you guys are taking this information. We do look forward to presenting you with more interviews just like this. Again, Jake, Say Wave. Thank you guys.
Frank, you the man.
Let them
Had a
know.
great time,
Let them
Frank.
know you guys love them on the channel, so they continue to make videos with us. So with that being said, thank you guys. We look forward to talking to you next time. Take care. Good investing, everyone, and bye-bye.
See you later.
Thanks, Frank.